pounds. So, and just lightly pop it off. Look at that. That is how it should be. Son of a gun! Look at all that air in there. That is awesome. Like really red. It's like literally blood. So after just a little bit of bleeding, the air, as you can see, I've got. All right, guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to work on the KTM 125 build, and we're going to show you how to rebuild a slave cylinder on a KTM clutch. Now, everything I'm going to show you today applies to the Huskies, the Gas, and the KTM. Basically everything that has a hydraulic clutch. And the slave cylinders all operate the same. So if this is not your bike, stay tuned because it's going to work exactly the same way for your bike. There are a couple differences though in the slave cylinders. A little bit on the bladders, a little bit on the sealing or the O-ring seals. Sorry, not bladders, but the O-rings, things like that. But the bleeding process is pretty much the same way for all of them. It's a reverse bleed method. But I'm going to show you how to rebuild the slave cylinder, how to bleed the system out, and then how to check for gasket thickness, because if you already have your rebuild kit, you will notice that there will be 2 or 3 or sometimes 4 gaskets for the correct spacing based on your push rod for your clutch. So yeah, let's hop into it. I'll show you the slave cylinder, and for those of you that are following along on the build, I'll show you a sneak peek of the build really quick. All right, that's it. Can't give you any more. We're on the tail end of it. The bike is wrapping up nice. It's looking sick, but we do have to rebuild this slave cylinder, and then we can go ahead and finish putting this together. So stay tuned. Now, there's not much going on with a slave cylinder. They're very, very, very simple. Basically, you have a piston, an O-ring, and a spring, and that is all that is inside of this housing here. Also, we've got our Banjo Bolt with our bleeder screw on top, obviously, and then washers. So let me break open this rebuild kit, and I'll show you everything that's inside of it. Okay, here's all of our parts laid out that come in the kit. You've got 3 sizes of gaskets, 3 bolts to replace the bolts that hold it on. You've got 2 washers for your Banjo Bolt, and then a O-ring that fits around the piston on the slave cylinder itself, and then of course a cap, new cap for your bleeder. Now, why would you rebuild a slave cylinder? Well, a couple reasons. First off, these over time can leak, and what you'll find out happening is you'll lose pressure on your clutch lever, and what it is the oil from these slave cylinders leaking into the crankcase of the motor. So let me show you that really quick. So there is your clutch push rod right there, and that oil will leak past the slave cylinder through that bearing and into the crankcase. So it doesn't really damage anything internally, but you lose all your pressure and seal, and then you have to rebuild it. Another reason why you may have to rebuild it too is because you get this can seize up if it sits for a long period of time, things like that. And you know, you'll have issues regarding your slave cylinder or your master cylinder. What we're going to do here is pop this apart. We're going to use compressed air to blow this out because it's fit in there using that O-ring, and uses hydraulic pressure to push this piston in and out. So in order to get it out, which let me show you something here, you can push this if it's not seized up. Oh, this one's kind of stuck now. Anyway, you can push this in and out because there's a spring on the opposite side, and that will kind of show you whether or not you're seized up or messed up there. But I cannot get this one to push in, so maybe. Anyway, okay, let's pull this apart. All right, let's remove our Banjo Bolt first. Once we get it out, we'll take our compressed air and pop this baby out. Be careful, don't shoot this thing all the way across the room. It'd be a bad deal. So just lay it down face first, put your compressed air in here, and then I don't have much pressure on this, maybe only like 20 or 30 pounds. So, and just lightly pop it off. There you go. That was a big bang for a little pop. All right, now to pop this O-ring off, you can usually just slide your fingers up the O-ring and get it to pop out of that little seat there, just like that, and roll it off. That's it. We'll spray this with some contact cleaner, get it cleaned up, spray the inside of the housing out, and then the spring, of course, and then we'll install our new O-ring using our new fluid. All right, got the parts cleaned up, and now I'm going to show you what we're using here. This is the Magura blood oil. crap is expensive, to be honest. It's basically mineral oil is what they call for on these, but I just bought the stuff that I'm supposed to use, so that's what we're going to use. Now, before we can put our O-ring on, we need to use the blood oil as a lubricant for the O-ring. So put gloves on for this. You guys don't want to get this stuff on you, especially you guys that are doing these kind of rebuilds that require brake fluid. Wear your gloves. Put our new O-ring on, and then that wraps up that. Put our spring in, and then install it this direction, upside down. Actually, before I do that, I'm gonna put a little bit of oil inside of here, just to make me happy about it. Just coat the inside of this. There we go. That's more better. And then flip this upside down. That way you get your spring in the right spot, like that. And then just press it in. And look at that. That is how it should be. Before it was stuck, wouldn't move. Now it's moving. Okay, that's that. Technically, this is rebuilt. Now let's talk about the more technical stuff regarding installing it and getting your correct spacing. Okay, before we can go ahead and install it, we need to find this Y dimension right here. Now, what is the Y dimension? That is the distance between your sealing surface and your push rod. Why is that important? Well, because over time your push rod can wear out, it can shorten, and then you need to change your gasket thickness to make sure that your clutch release is correct. So, long story short, sealing surface to the push rod. Over on the bike, that would basically be from this point here to the push rod, if that makes sense. Well, you guys can't see crap. Let me zoom in just a little bit. Hey, there we go. So from sealing surface to push rod, there is a distance there. There is a gap. Let me show you. Right there, you can see the push rod is inset just slightly. So let me show you how I figured out this measurement. For me, it was 2.8 millimeters, but let me show you how I figured it out. All right, that's my dimension that I have gotten. And basically what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your calipers and you're gonna put your caliper up against the sealing surface. And then you're also gonna tap it right up against the push rod. And basically, I'm just eyeballing it because really it just needs to be very, very close. It doesn't have to be perfect because there is a tolerance there. But long story short, I'm just trying to get that as close as possible to show, yeah, it's pretty dang close. And I don't have three hands, but one method you can use, which is kind of what I did. I took a feeler gauge and I run the feeler gauge across this way and then bumped this up there and then lowered it to the feeler gauge, a very thin one. And that was kind of how I figured it out. So if that makes sense to you guys, don't get too carried away as to getting that totally perfect, because you do have a tolerance here of, you know, about 0.3 millimeters, which is quite a bit. So with our measurement of 2.85, we're falling in the 0.5 millimeter gasket region. The old gasket is a 0.5 millimeter gasket, so that kind of helps with things. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to find our middle gasket, which I think is that one, because this one's massive, yeah. And then the green one's thin. So that one's thin, that one's big. This is our middle ground. So we'll measure it with the calipers real quick, make sure it's 0.5. If it is, we're going to go ahead and install this. Okay, now before we install this, I'm going to go ahead and add just a little bit of fluid in the top here. Saw that on a Rocky Mountain video. I thought it was a great idea. So kind of helps alleviate a little bit of the bleeding process. Oh crap, I'm spilling this all over. So anyway, I don't have a ton of fluid here, but put a little bit in the top, and then yeah, see those bubbles burping? That's what we want to see. We want those bubbles out. So kind of helps with the process here. So wow, that was a lot of air actually. Son of a gun, look at all that air in there. That is awesome. So I'm glad we're doing that and getting all those air bubbles out. Cool, now we just have to keep this upright so that we don't introduce air into it again. All right, let's go ahead and pop this thing on, get our gasket here. I forgot that my bolt kit had a hydraulic clutch bolt set, so now we've got matching bolts to go with our engine case there. And go ahead and just fit it right in its home there. Should just sit in there perfectly. Now this one's slightly damaged just because of the whole we go. It looks like somebody might have run a bigger sprocket, or their chain broke, or whatever. Probably just a bigger sprocket scenario there. But anyway, go ahead and put it on there. When you put your bolts in, it's going to compress just slightly, and then your fluid might just come out of the top. In order for this to go completely on, all 3 bolts need to be in, but 1 bolt goes to your case saver and your sprocket cover there. So we're going to go ahead and just do the 2 for now. We'll do 3. We'll just do all 3. Okay, so as you can see, when I do this, it's actually pressing against the push rod and the oil is wanting to come out. So I'm going to grab me a paper towel here and just be ready for that oil when it comes out. So just snug these up, nothing crazy. Torque on these is very, very minimal. Well, it should be about 7 foot-pounds or so. So just be careful. Just don't be dumb. Make smart decisions. Don't over torque stuff and break it. Now we'll go ahead and install our banjo bolt. Washer on the banjo bolt itself. Okay, and then washer in between the banjo bolt and the actual fitting, which, there we go. I was like, we are missing something here. Okay, so put that in, and just like so. And then just, oh, KTM's 13 millimeter. Forget about that random craziness they have to do. Okay, snug it up, just like that. And then we're gonna go ahead and put on our case saver real quick. And that's gonna kind of, I guess, impede here just a little bit. It might anyway. Yeah, it will be okay. We'll just go ahead and put this thing on really quick. It'll come back off when we put the chain on, but just to give you guys a thorough install video. So put that one on there and then do that. And it is part of the sealing of the gasket surface, this top bolt. So, I mean, really it needs to go on there. All right, back up here to your clutch lever on top. You're gonna wanna take these screws out. These are a JIS screw, not a Phillips. So if you don't have JIS screwdrivers, get you some, because they're awesome. Pop these out, and then we will reverse bleed into the clutch reservoir. A little bit different than what, oh crap, oh that's messy. A little bit different than probably what you guys have done in the past. Now, because I still have mineral oil in here from before we did the bike build, I actually haven't had this off since we did the bike build, so I just knew the clutch worked flawlessly, so I wasn't really worried about a master cylinder rebuild. Just gonna take my towel here and just soak up all the oil, just get it all out. I don't need to use a syringe or anything. I can just press this in and get it out. These shop towels are amazing for this stuff. So, and then we'll replace with the blood oil, whatever that. It's like really red. It's like literally blood. So pretty cool stuff. All right, guys, got the master cylinder cleaned out, and here is my setup. Got a syringe with the blood oil in it, bled all the air out, plugged in my bleeder valve here, and what I'm gonna do here is I'm just gonna open the bleeder valve, and then I'm just going to go ahead and run in the oil. Just feed it in nice and slow with my syringe, and it should just come out the top of the master cylinder fairly easy. Oh, the other thing is too, before you do this, make sure that your clutch lever is all the way out. Or yeah, that your clutch lever is all the way out. Don't allow any interference with your clutch lever at all. You do not want that. Oh, you can hear the air coming out the top there. That's what we want to hear. And now we have oil coming up to the master cylinder. Just a little bit. Just take your time, be patient. Okay, then we'll close our bleeder valve. All right, as you guys can see, there is oil in there, and I'm just gonna go ahead and just fluctuate this clutch lever just a little bit and just see if I can get any air bubbles out. Right now I know there's still air in there because it's not quite actuating. I gotta turn my thing back in, I totally forgot about that. You see there's some micro bubbles coming out the top, which that's pretty normal. You just have to keep bleeding it. Now, because of the viscosity of the oil, any air that's in this takes a lot more time to come up, a lot longer to get out than you would think. So just be patient, just keep actuating it and getting the air to come to the top. Now, lucky for us, we've got a brand new rebuild, so we know that our seal is good on it. We just need to get all the air out. I can feel the clutch lever is actually starting to tighten just slightly. All right, after just a little bit of bleeding, the air, as you can see, I've got good clutch engagement, or disengagement, I guess. And my fluid level is just a little bit low, so I'm gonna pop my hose off, bring it up top here, and just top this off. Now, just like you would brakes or anything like that, go ahead and wrap around the reservoir before you put your cap on. That way anything that bleeds over doesn't get all over the place, because you hate that. You hate the messes, but it comes with the job, I guess. So let's wrap that up. Then we'll grab our stuff here and drop these in. So this goes that direction so that the majority of the fluid, let's see, yes, that direction, just like that. So go ahead and set that in there like so, and then grab your cover, of course, and put it on like so. There's a little indent right here, by the way, and the same indentation over there, so you kind of know, you know, which way it all orients. So okay, press that on, and because there's fluid leaking out, you know that it's a tight seal. These screws, just snug them up. They like to strip, or not strip, but snap off very, very easily, so just snug them up. Don't get Western with it. All right, and last but not least, we've got our cap for our bleeder valve. Make sure you have that because you don't want any dirt in there, for sure. All right, guys, wraps it up. You can see we got good resistance there. Everything's working the way it should, and it looks sweet. I'm pretty happy with it. Okay, as you guys can see, the 125 project is wrapping up, so please stay tuned for the next videos, next 2 or 3 videos, where we completely button this thing up and do the first startup. I'm really excited about it. Yeah, it's looking pretty sick. I don't know if I want to show you guys. You're gonna have to wait. You're gonna have to wait for the next video. So thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.